These hips are honest as fuck. Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. Wow, good start. I have a push day today, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go over, in my opinion, what are the most overrated chest exercises. So, not necessarily the worst chest exercises, because there's lots of really bad chest exercises, but the most overrated ones, because these are the ones that I don't think are really deserving of like how often I see them done. With that being said, there might be something in this video that triggers you, so just feel free to comment, you know, why you disagree, because I think that's always productive, just to have constructive discussion back and forth. So yeah, if I say something that upsets you, keep in mind that I'm just saying, you know, you're not an idiot for doing this movement, you're just maybe weren't privy to the information that I'm going to explain in this video, and then you still might disagree with me, and that's totally fine. All movements are going to train the chest or whatever you're trying to target to some extent, but obviously we're just trying to be as efficient as we can be. So if you like that, sub the channel. You know, if you like this video, like the video, comment something, like I said, positive or politely negative, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm obviously not going to get involved in any dick measuring contests in the comment sections of my social media stuff, because been there, done that. But yeah, this kind of concept of video I think I'm going to start doing more of. So if that's something of interest to you, then yeah, sub the channel. We're going to be continuing to pound out videos like we have been, so let's do it.
There's not much you could do or say to faze me. People think I'm a little bit crazy. I get it from all angles, even occasionally. Doc Crazy will have to step in every once in a while to save me, to make me stop and think about it or just say things. Sometimes I forget what other people just may think. A lot of rappers probably wouldn't know how to take me if they heard some shit I made a tape or they erase me. I may be a little too fast-paced and racy. Sometimes the average listener rewinds and plays me 20 times cause I say so many rhymes it may seem like I'm going too fast cause my mind is racing. And I could give a fuck what category you place me, long as when I'm pushing up daisies and gone, as long as you place me amongst one of them greats. When I hit the heavenly gates, I'll be cool beside Jay-Z. For every single die-hard fan who embraced me, I'm thankful for the talent in which God gave me, and I'm thankful for the environment that He placed me. Believe it or not, I thank my mom for how she raised me in the neighborhood daily to jump and chase me. It only made me what I am today. See, regardless of what anybody believes who hates me, you ain't gonna make or break me, trying to strip me of my credibility and make me look fake. Gee, you're only gonna be in for a rude awakening, cause sooner or later you haters are all gonna face me.
Okay, so the first, this is not in any particular order, but the first overrated chest exercise is gonna be dumbbell flies, flat or incline. Incline, it's a little bit better if you're using like a more narrow arm path and you're still just doing a fly like this. But if you're doing a dumbbell fly and you're using an arm path like this, whether it's incline or flat, it's just not a good movement for primarily the fact that it's very unstable. We know that stability allows us to recruit more motor units and allows us to increase the output of the target muscle and therefore increasing the growth stimulus. So that is one thing that takes away from it. And then the other thing too is the biggest benefit of doing a fly is being able to train, or one of the biggest benefits of doing a fly is being able to train the chest in the shortened position. But with a dumbbell, because dumbbells use gravity, it's hard right here, but then as I get up to here, it's super easy because now I'm moving sideways and the dumbbell's still pulling backward, right? So there's no resistance against this. And so you're not getting any tension on the chest in the shortened position. The other thing too is that a lot of people do dumbbell flies because they're like, man, you get such a good stretch. But the pec lengthens as the elbow or the arm comes behind the body. And so you can lengthen the pec more with a press when your elbow is bent than you can with a straight arm fly way out here. The stretch that you're feeling in your chest is not actually the pec, it's connective tissue underneath the pec, your like coracobrachialis, you know, pec minor, like little things that cross the shoulder joint that are not big muscles. They don't have a lot of potential for growth. And so what you're feeling is not the pec stretching, it's that other stuff. And so you're not actually getting a good stretch. You will get a better stretch in the pecs if you do a press where your arms are closer to your body rather than out here and your elbows are bent. A lot of times too with flies, the limiting factor can be the biceps because people do them with super straight arms And so your bicep has to stabilize, because across the shoulder joint and the elbow, so it has to stabilize the arm, and it's very difficult to stabilize the shoulder because the bicep is not in a very advantageous position to do that. So a lot of people are limiting the output of the chest because they can only go as heavy as their bicep and their shoulder connective tissue can handle. Just gonna wipe that sweat stain off of it.
Think about it now, don't pussy out and try to about face me, cause I've been patiently waiting for the day that we finally meet in the same place to see.
No matter how many battles I've been in and won, no matter how many magazines on my nuts, no matter how many MCs I eat up, oh, it's never enough. No matter how many battles I've been in and won, no matter how many magazines on my nuts, no matter how many MCs I eat up, oh, it's never enough. My flow's untouchable, now you gotta face it. It gets worse when I go back to the basics. You go say the wrong shit and get your whole face split. The smell of victory, love it so much I can taste it. I spot my target, blaze a direct hit. Grazed your peace talk, say that your shit sounds dated, you're overrated, I'm up, gated up. Study your moves, then crush you motherfuckers. If I'm the best and the worst, then God's gift is a curse. Soldier trained to destroy, you paying attention, boy? I spit shit, slick shit, so quick you miss shit. To be specific, I go ballistic, it's hieroglyphic. My music is a drug, press play, you ain't gotta sniff it. Shoot it or pop it, roll it back at the chopper to get you high over and over, but you gotta cop it. When it's hot, you're hating, it's undeniable, stop it. No matter how many battles I've been in and won, no matter how many magazines on my nuts, no matter how many MCs I eat up, oh, it's never enough.
Alright, so number 2 most overrated chest exercise is, I think it might be called a Sven press or something like that, but it's basically where like people will hold 2 plates together, and sometimes they'll do it laying on a bench, and they'll be pushing up like that, like an incline or flat bench, and sometimes, which is even worse, they'll just do it standing. So literally like I'm standing right now, they'll have 2 plates and they'll squeeze them together, and they'll just do this. Yeah, dude, such a good chest squeeze. Fuck yeah. Okay, that makes no sense at all. Number 1, that does not train your inner chest. There's nothing right now that suggests that you're going to be able to target the inner portion of the chest. So if anyone, based on what we know right now, if anybody ever says that's how you target or grow the inner part of the chest, they're full of shit. The second thing is, for obvious reasons, that doesn't take the chest through any range of motion at all. You know, the chest is responsible for bringing the arm inward like this, or flexing the shoulder so the arm, bringing it from back here to forward. If you're doing a, like I called it, a plate press, Sven press, whatever you want to call it, your arm is going through like a very, very small range of motion. You're going to get an isometric contraction because you're squeezing your hands together to keep the plates from falling, but I'm getting an isometric contraction right now, just squeezing my hands together right now. So not a lot of potential for progressive overload, doesn't take the chest through a large range of motion, and I guess actually I kind of forgot, the most important part of at least the standing version is that if I'm standing and doing this, gravity is pulling my hands down because I'm holding weight and weight uses gravity. So gravity is pulling down, but I'm pushing outward. So I'm pushing this way and gravity's pulling this way. So again, the direction of the resistance is not opposing the direction that I'm producing force in. So that obviously needs to be somewhat consistent in order for an exercise to be good. It just doesn't load the chest very well. It doesn't have a lot of potential to place a lot of tension on the chest. It doesn't have a lot of potential, like I said, for progressive overload and no range of motion. So whether or not you're doing it laying on a bench or standing, dog shit movement.
To our girls, 5 billion and 40 naughty shorty. Baby girl, all my girls, Thunderball say, well, I'm on the way, the time cold, I wanna be keeping you warm. I got the right temperature to shelter you from the storm. Hold on, girl, I got the right tactics to turn you on. And girl, I wanna be the papa, you can be the mom.
cable flies, as long as you do them properly and you're doing them in a stable fashion. So by that I mean seated cable fly, where I'll be sitting on a bench and I'm sitting on like an incline bench, my back is supported, and I can just focus on doing the fly motion. That's great. That's actually a very good movement. But the standing version, I don't have anything supporting my back, so I can't produce as much force with my chest as I want to, because I have to worry about like coordinating the movement, making sure I don't fall over, and then you see people kind of like leaning forward. But if I still give it all I've got, you see how my chest, I'm pushing myself backward. And as you push yourself backward, you're losing tension on the chest, right? Because not only is the motion, the range of motion being created from your arm coming in, but it's also being created from you moving back. So you just can't really load the chest very well when you're not, when there's nothing preventing you from moving backward. So that's honestly the biggest thing. There's nothing else wrong with a fly. Flies are totally fine as long as you do them properly, you know, with a little bit of a bent elbow in the back, and then you're straightening your elbow as you come up, all that kind of stuff. But the standing version is just problematic because of the fact that there's nothing supporting you. And when there's nothing supporting you, you can't load it as heavy, you're not going to recruit as many motor units, you're just not going to have as much output, you're not going to have as much tension on the target muscle, and that's ultimately what we're after. So cable fly is totally fine, just do them with something supporting your back. You don't even have to be seated, just make sure that you can't move backward. It'd be the same thing as if I was doing a press, but I was doing it like this. You know what I mean? Like, you never see people doing presses, or at least you shouldn't, with nothing behind their back, because if I push really hard, I'm going to shoot myself backward. And again, that's going to reduce tension on the chest. So that's why standing cable flies, I think they're really overrated. Like I said, they're not garbage, it's just that they're overrated because they're done so often. And that's obviously something that contributes to whether or not something's overrated. So the last and arguably most overrated chest movement is going to be the classic barbell bench. Now the barbell bench is not a bad movement. I would, even put it right in the middle of like good and bad movements, like 6 out of 10. You know what I mean? So it would even be slightly on the good side because it's not a bad movement. I just think it's overrated, and by that I mean like it's when you think of lifting weights in a gym, the first movement you think of is probably barbell bench. I mean, everyone when they get into the gym and they think like, I'm going to do some press or I'm going to go to the gym and I've never been before, they're probably visualizing barbell bench. But it's not popular because it's effective. It's popular because of the fact that it's just doesn't require a ton of equipment and it's just such a basic movement. The two knocks on it, which I wouldn't even call like substantial, but that do kind of take it down a couple notches in terms of like how good the movement is for targeting the chest anyway, is that it's not as stable as like a Smith machine press or even a seated cable press or like a converging or machine chest press. So because the bar can move this way, it's going to reduce the stability of the movement a little bit, which is going to theoretically reduce the output of the target musculature, the chest, which is going to reduce the tension that the chest experiences because it's not able to produce as much force. And then the second thing that I would say is just that because your hands can't move independently of one another, you're not necessarily going to be able to use an arm path that biases the chest and that doesn't necessarily leverage the triceps and delts like over the chest or more so than they otherwise need to be. So for me, for example, when I press and I'm just focusing on moving as much weight as I can, my body naturally wants to leverage my triceps because they're just stronger or whatever the case is. I don't know, some people are more delt dominant and they press really out wide. But when you're using the barbell bench, because of the fact your hands can't move independently of one another, you're not going to be able to bias the chest necessarily as well as you could with something that's more stable or that has a better arm path. Some people could probably bias the chest great with the barbell, but they're still not going to be able to bias it as well as they would be with something, like I said, that's more stable and has a better arm path. Just as an aside too, the other thing I see a lot of people doing is like feet up bench, whether either with dumbbells or with the barbell, where they're laying on their back and they have their feet up in the air. I don't know why people do that. Maybe because it makes them feel like they have to use the chest more, but in reality you just have to balance yourself more, and the more you have to balance and coordinate yourself or stabilize yourself, the less you're going to be able to load the movement and therefore load the target tissues. So feet up variations of anything that is like a flat press or a free weight press, specifically free weight press, because I guess you can feet up bench on something like a Smith and it's not going to be as problematic, but feet up bench or feet up pressing is no bueno. Like I said, just because you're going to have to coordinate and balance yourself more, you're not going to be able to just focus on like creating force and loading the target tissue.